This is to give notice to those who wish to be notified. Please be aware of the nature of energy that you call upon.
No matter what, we are a sum total of the nature of energy that we consume, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And what we put out will come back to us by the nature of energy that we have consumed in the least expected ways. And there are only two different natures of energy: divine order and chaotic disorder. And we have to make decisions as to where we're going to go with this magnificent gift of life. You can declare yourself to be any religious order. You can call any deity. In basic reality, it still boils down to two different natures of energy. And the nature of energy that you consume will determine the nature of energy that you owe your allegiance to: divine order or chaotic disorder.
High Priest Kwatamani, Supreme Soothsayer, Soul Seer, Spiritual Healer and Revealer, Chief Elder of the Kwatamani First Genesis Tribe, the oldest, longest sustained, raw and living, plant fuel consuming, family community order known. Over half a century and still going strong in the tropical rainforest.
Today, we want to make a few things as clear as possible. The basic fact is that there are two different natures of energy. Divine order, we're talking about the energy that perpetuates divine socioeconomic family community, which includes Mother Earth, humanity, and all living things thereof. We're talking about the wholeness, the green earth solar conscious soulness, the essence of life and supreme love. Or toxic disorder, which reflects conflict, confusion, and chaos expressed through sexual violation, violence, war, and crime. That nature that breeds, seed, and feed opposition to divine order. We're moving into the sacred ancestral prophecy, the green earth solar conscious prophecy, AD 2027. We're closing a cycle and opening another. And the one that we're opening is manifesting within a new cycle of thought and reasoning and action. There is a first genesis of masculine and feminine energy. It is not mono in any manner. It is an expression that has been told and showed by every element of life that it is a manifestation of the divine union of masculine and feminine energy. To break the bond of sacred ancestral masculine and feminine energy, the divine union of oneness, he and she, is the playground of conflict, confusion, and chaos.
Chaos.
Chaos, a nature and energy of consciousness. Seth, a shapeshifter, a master deceiver, many different names, guises, and disguises. End of quote. Taken from the prophetic 12,594-year Banu cycle, encoding the consciousness of higher peace through the divine union of masculine and feminine energy by High Priest Kwatamani.
The master program has been going on for a very long time. The primary purpose was to divide, conquer, separate, and to rule. And in order to do that, the basic law is to divide the male from the female. That is the basic law of war.
We're in a spiritual war. We're in a spiritual war.
The basic law is to divide the male from the female.
That is to say, to divide and conquer the wholeness of green earth solar conscious soulness, which is the essence of the divine union of masculine and feminine energy.
If you do that, you've already split up the nucleus of family community order, regardless of where they are at that particular point in time. And now you've created chaos.
Chaos.
That nature that breeds self-centered individualism, that do not give the glory to the essence of the divine union of oneness, masculine and feminine energy, but rather calls upon a masculine deity as the end all of all. It has indeed dominated, controlled, and ruled over man, he, and she during this entire AD cycle.
Yeah, green earth solar can bend. Rapping this rap says who knows when. Ain't trying to offend those God-fearing men who told us woman was the birthplace of sin. And then after a while they crucified her son child, made her bend, waver and bow. Holy cow, must have been odd. She forced to worship the facade of a vengeful, jealous, monotheistic God, spewing curse upon she as if she was the enemy, she the mother of humanity. Who, why, when, where would such a mentality come to be, if not from a cold, pale self, deified male who condemned the essence of she to elevate his false sense of supremacy? Yeah, he will address her as lower and lesser, feeling high and mighty above. She unable to love her for birth and eat.
What we all must comprehend is that all things toxic will come to an end as this new green earth solar cycle of higher peace consciousness begins. We're talking about the holistic living resurrection of green earth solar consciousness. We're talking about the glory of earth, wind, rain, and sun. That nature of energy that has given us our existence. We're talking about manifesting divine social, economic, family, community order. The order of the universe. The order of this solar sphere. The order of Mother Earth. The order of every living thing that focus on holistic living, truth, and reality, manifesting the Assarian nature, a nature that was not mono.
Assar was mated to Aset, the divine feminine. Quote, Aset was represented in tens of thousands of statuettes and paintings, holding the divine child in her arms. We find that these same paintings and figures became those of the Madonna and Child, with little or no difference. In fact, archaeologists are often left in confusion in attempting to distinguish the one from the other. End of quote. The Influence of the Mystery Religions on Christianity by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., November 29, 1949.
And we're talking about a nature that forwarded the divine union of oneness and the expression of divine social, economic, family, community order by opening the pathway for any and every child of the sun functioning in divine order.
Open alright. Mirror on the wall. Who I see staring back at me is just a surface identity. Gotta look deep within, deeper than skin. Open alright.
According to ancient prophecy, melanin would determine humanity's destiny and absolute necessity within a green earth solar conscious reality. There is that nature of energy which opposes divine order. That nature that is chaotic disorder. And it has waged a war, a spiritual war, against the holistic living essence of masculine and feminine energy, he and she. And it looks upon the children of the sun and the sacred garden culture from which we come as, you really don't even know how to say it, something that he look upon with scorn and bitterness and hatred and hostile aggression that fuels this spiritual war of self versus the green earth solar conscious essence of soul. We tend to say, okay, well, what is the reason? It could be that Seth was born in the wrong space, in the wrong place, at the wrong time, and actually functioned within an environmental disorder based upon the nature of the circumstances from which he emerged. Blighted, barren landmass.
Wrong space, wrong place, environmental birth. And a cold, pale, and dink nature of masculinity came upon this glorious earth. A mono male, a self-centered, individualistic male, a predatorial, nomadic male who seeks and searches to dominate, control, and rule by any means deemed necessary, regardless of the hurt and harm upon humanity, Mother Earth, and all living things thereof.
Cold, dink, snow and ice, desert blight. And out of that will come a child that was indeed the product of his and her environment. And as it is right now, if we don't hurry and straighten out the patterns of disorder upon Mother Earth, this entire planet will become just that. Blighted, barren landmass. That nature is a self-centered, envious, jealous, vengeful, warful nature that actually calls on blood sacrifice, burnt offerings as a way of life. It is a very difficult challenge for the divine children of the sun, who must uphold and maintain the sacred garden culture present of the tree of life culture from which we come. It's a challenge that we must look at with every ounce of the soul-to-soul essence of who we be. We owe every sense of obligation, honor, to that most supreme seen and unseen essence of masculine and feminine energy. In other words, it could be that we're facing a challenge, and that challenge could be a lesson plan, and Seth could be a teacher. Yeah, a teacher, to let us know what will happen if we do not reach her. She, the first teacher in her womb, the first classroom where she will breathe divine order or self-deified, individualized doom and gloom. Yeah, a teacher to let us know and have greater appreciation for the most supreme essence of life and supreme love, so that we will have all due humility, thanks, praise, and appreciation for that which we have, and work diligently to better our expression to Mother Earth, Wind, Rain, and Sun. There's a comprehension that opposing nature and all of its disciples and followers, let's call them the children of Seth.
The children of Seth came pale and cold. Shake the devil out the children. The children came pale and cold. Rise up, children of the sun, and behold.
It ain't about the color, complexion of your skin.
It's about the state of consciousness you live within.
What man, he and she must comprehend, what all of humanity must comprehend, what the children of the sun must comprehend, is that man, he and she has been put under the spell, a divisive spell of a cold, pale, toxic parallel of thought and reasoning and action, a cold, pale consciousness that emerged out of a blighted, whited environment of snow and ice and desert sand, where the wholeness, the earth, soul, of soulness of the tree of life was not, where the fruits and the vegetables and the seeds and the nuts and the herbs and spice was not, where the most supreme seen and unseen essence of masculine and feminine energy, the birthplace of man, he and she, was replaced by the deified self who emerged as the war god, the lord of the warlord. In other words, those who survived the harsh, barren environmental conditions lost his and her natural and innate consciousness as it relates to their origin as first Genesis offsprings. Therefore, could no longer remember the higher peace conscious nature of the sacred garden culture from which we come as divine children of the sun. In other words, those who had devolved into a lower and lesser state of consciousness would automatically assume supremacy because the whole idea was the survival of the fittest, and whoever had the swiftest ability to kill, maim, conquer, and destroy was indeed supreme. A self-centered, individualistic state of consciousness that thrived and survived off of conquest, blood spill, and the thrill of the kill. A cold, pale, merciless state of consciousness that perpetuates sexual violation, violence, war, and crime as a way of life. So rather than face the holistic living requirements of detoxing and purging to heal from that cold, pale, oppositional mindset, one would rather focus one's energies on the vibrations that one has become accustomed to. Therefore, the objective has been to prevent the rise of sacred ancestral, green earth solar conscious, masculine and feminine energy. Due to the acts of sexual violation, violence, war, and crime, and the assimilation, integration, and adaptation thereof, Mother Earth is full of Sethites, profiled as blacks, browns, reds, yellows, whites.
Quote, the spiritual war is being waged against the divine union of masculine and feminine energy, and it has been prophetically told in the story of Assar, Aset, Nebuhet, and the opposing nature of the self-asserting will, that is, Seth. Assar and Aset represented the masculine and feminine ancestral presence of divine union. Nebuhet represented the ancestral mother spirit who rejected and broke away from the nature of opposition in order to realign with the divine union of masculine and feminine energy within the circle of life. Seth, as we said, represented the deified self and its asserted will that perpetuates self-expressions of the nature that opposes supreme love and the essence of life. End of quote, page 267. Nebuhet left Seth. Taken from the prophetic 12,594-year Banu cycle, encoding the consciousness of higher peace through the divine union of masculine and feminine energy, Book 3, Spiritual Analysis of Western Culture and the Reawakening of Naga Consciousness by High Priest Kwatamani.
Now we've had to live with this through this entire cycle of time, and it has actually ripped and tore the heart, but not the soul, of man, he and she. And as it is now, we must take a wholehearted and sincere look at holistic living recovery of that sacred ancestral presence, divine union of masculine and feminine energy.
Open our eyes.
According to ancient prophecy, melanin will determine humanity's destiny and absolute necessity in a green earth solar reality. Universal law exposed the flaw as the pale mental mindset begins to thaw. Divine order shows the cons and the pros of mental encodes diametrically opposed to the melanin encoded souls, children of the sun. And when all is said and done, white supremacy be public enemy number one.
Now we're dealing with some serious things because we're going to breed offsprings. And those offspring got to carry the glory of what we're speaking about right now. And we've actually been within a cold, destructive spiritual war.
Quote, this spiritual war continues into the next phase of attack upon those who are the remnants and survivors and the last refuge of ancestral solarized consciousness. The attempt has been and continues to be the occupation and dispossession of the mental and physical presence of the children of the sun so as to completely enslave their life energy in service to the self-asserting will of the monotheistic male. End of quote. Page 271, Banu Book 3 by High Priest Kwatamani.
The nature of that cold, destructive spiritual war was to destroy the male so that the family community order would be divided, conquered, and ruled. The ancestral male, that male who carried eldership, the first elder masculine energy upon this planet, had to be destabilized.
Listen. Was he not talking to the male?
We shall take you and your wives and your children and shall make slaves of them.
And we're going to rip and tear apart the essence of your family community order. Was he not talking to the male? Who do you think they were talking to?
I certify to you that with the help of God, we shall powerfully enter into your country and shall make war against you in all ways and manners that we can.
When they said, we are going to take all of your worldly goods, all of your possessions, was he not talking to the male?
And we shall take away your goods, and shall do you all the mischief and damage that we can, as to vassals who do not obey and refuse to receive their lord, Seth, Lord of the warlords.
We're going to use all those things for our benefit, and we're going to put you into a state and condition of mental, physical, spiritual enslavement. Was he not talking to the male?
And we protest that the deaths and losses which shall accrue from this are your fault.
We have to realize some basic factors. Number one, that within and among certain populations who have been invaded by a monotheistic warlord nature of energy, the primary purpose was to divide, conquer, separate, and to rule. And in order to do that, the basic law is to divide the male from the female. That is the basic law of war.
We're in a spiritual war. We're in a spiritual war.
The basic law is to divide the male from the female. And now you've created chaos.
Chaos. The fuel and source of Seth, also known as Sutek, Satan, the god of chaos, the lord of the warlord.
The nature of that cold, destructive spiritual war was to destroy the male so that the family community order would be divided, conquered, and ruled in order to gain control over the feminine nature, who then would be used to breed, seed, and feed the nature of the satanic energy.
In other words, Seth is none other than the chaotic energy of self, deified in opposition to the soul, at war against the universal laws of divine order, unwilling to submit to the requirements of whole life existence, and therefore isolated in individualistic disconnection from the divine union of masculine and feminine energy. Just so you know, chaotic energy degrades, degenerates, and depletes life as a predatorial nature that invades, conquers, enslaves, destroys, and consumes all who consume of it. The chaotic energy of toxic disorder has many slaves, bowing down to the self-asserting will of Seth, mighty in battle, herding humanity like sheep, goat, and cattle for slaughter, blood spill, and the thrill of the kill, devouring life energy for profit and gain.
And as it was, so it has happened. She is groomed and conditioned from that point by planned, organized master programs to work on behalf of that nature that dominate, control, and rule over her existence through sexual violation, violence, war, and crime, reducing her to an enabler of that toxic, foul, and wretched nature. And in doing so, every offspring off of her would be born fueling off of conflict, confusion, and chaos. And out of that, we have no alternative but to focus enough deep-seated, soul-to-soul, sacred ancestral energy to recovery.
Yeah, her big brown eyes open wide, bloated, palish, red inside, showed the many years of tears she cried.
The first thing is this. Every masculine he born off of she as the first teacher, each and every male has been reduced to his least common denominator. He don't even know it. He's very busy in conflict, confusion, and chaos where the I, me, my, mine syndrome dominate and rule. Therefore, the sacred ancestral masculine presence somehow managed to be forwarded. He will not be listened to. That elder would be totally ignored because eldership would become a very strange and foreign thing within families that have been broken from their ancestral roots from the onset of the invasions and persuasions of that toxic nature of self-deification. Yet, we must go beyond the occasion.
Neither the spirit of Aset nor the spirit of Nebuchadnezzar had died. She never knew till after the whistle blew, after the soul pulled a spiritual coup, exposing what was lies and what was true.
And I tell you, from the essence of all that I be, as a masculine he who has focused every ounce of living energy that is within to seek to develop a new pathway. It's almost as though Seth, Sutek, Satan is seeking revenge for that sacred ancestral she who decided to abandon his toxic nature, their cold and blighted nature, and seek out the sacred ancestral masculinity.
Nebuchadnezzar left Seth, and thereafter he would spew curse upon the first Genesis female, leading her into the wilderness of his toxic disorder, degrading femininity until she became the female of the second Genesis, the birthplace of sin.
And so it's as though his objective is to infuse that nature of self-centered individualism into she, and then she would actually spew a hatred, despiteful nature upon the masculine he. So she would become the prime agent. And it would be as though her greatest objective is to prevent the rise of a green earth solar conscious masculinity. In other words, to prevent the rise of green earth solar conscious masculine and feminine energy. Because if he's there to be able to breed a nature of divine order into a she who has the ability to birth the nature of divine order, it's over with. And I don't mean that it's just over with just like that, but that's a signal that a new beginning has occurred. And that has been and remained the challenge of masculine and feminine energy up until this day. He and she, too busy focusing on the materialistic nature, the physical presence, the beauty standards, false, out of order, meaning nothing. Sexuality meaning nothing except a moment of pleasure. Being actually focusing on thinking that because they dress this way and look that way, that's going to be the dominating vibration of he who look upon her to seek lustful pleasure and having absolutely nothing to do with the breeding, seeding, and feeding of a nature of green earth solar consciousness that can rise man, he and she, up from this pitfall of toxic self-deification.
The entire reality of self-deification is contaminated by a materialistic, superficial, and predatorial value system. Life energy is objectified and commodified, and furthermore, there is a fetish for things and stuff that can only serve as a pale imitation or carrier for the life energy, because there is no direct soul-to-soul connection.
That Sethian nature has looked upon the Assarian nature with scorn and doing everything it can to do exactly what it did to Assar. Put him in a box, toxic disorder fused all around him, perpetuating a nature that would not allow his consciousness to spread, cutting his body into 14 bits, pieces, and parts, so that he cannot again be remembered. And so it was, so it has been done. So he, the masculine born off of she, who actually feels scorn, and at the same time seeking and searching to get him assimilating, integrating, and adopting, regardless of what it do to the soulful essence, regardless of whether it have you looking like a clown, regardless of whether she then looks like a clown. It's a clown show. And the objective is, for this moment of life, let's clown around in order to honor he who dominate, control, and rule through violence, hostile aggression. If the mother spirit is conquered and reduced to her least common denominator, then she will be his greatest ally. That masculine he who refused to assimilate, integrate, adopt, she will be his worst nightmare. So that's where we're at. And this is what we're actually focused on recovering from. If one reasons at all, if one can come out of the fog of toxic reality, just for a moment, one can see that there's a greater mission that all of man, he and she, must have, because Mother Earth is involved now. And she's not playing. She's refusing to allow her essence to be ripped, stripped, raped, and torn apart by a nature that's actually a fantasy, delusion, and illusion of self-deified glory. And not only is Mama Earth involved, Father Ra, the wind, the rain, everything that's within and of the essence of life and supreme love. And that is up to each and every one to evaluate. But one thing is for sure, time is not on your side. This is to give notice to those who wish to be notified. Please be aware of the nature of energy that you call upon. No matter what, we are a sum total of the nature of energy that we consume, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And what we put out will come back to us by the nature of energy that we have consumed in the least expected ways. And there are only two different natures of energy: divine order and chaotic disorder. And we have to make decisions as to where we're going to go with this magnificent gift of life.
Open